Going right back to the beginning, John Harle got in touch with me because I'd written something on Brecht's War Primer, and he was interested in doing a production of it.
Truly, I live in dark times.
This collaboration, it's a knowledge exchange with the Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London, where I'm a professor of music and interdisciplinary practice.
When hunger rules.
So the War Primer is a really exceptional piece. Brecht was fascinated by photography and he collected press photographs. He thought they encapsulated, which indeed they do, he thought they encapsulated particular moments which could then be analysed and interpreted in more detail. And during the war, the Second World War, he collected press photographs of the war and wrote little poems in commentary on them. And his great friend, Hans Eisler, picked up some of these and set them to music.
In den Tanks und Bomben großer Kriege, die den alte Spitz in Lappland friert, aus 100 Schlachten kommen taus die Siege. Wir sind's, die ihr besiegt habt. Triumphiert, triumphiert.
It's also extraordinary because it calls for extraordinary forces. You need a band, you need a chorus, you need soloists. And once you've assembled all of that, it lasts for 11 minutes.
Seven roses the rosebush has.
How do we make this the centerpiece of something, and how do we use those resources, use those forces for something else? And that's when we started putting this program together.
We've constructed it in a way that gives the students maximum exposure.
We have arranged and commissioned, so we've arranged music from Brecht's own time for the same forces, and we've commissioned music from current students and young faculty at both Guildhall and Oxford.
We've got Marc Almond producing what yesterday in the rehearsals was more or less the best performance of Surabaya Johnny I've ever heard.
I was only a child when I met you. You came from the Burma Lagoon. You said, would you like a bit of travel? You promised me all but the moon. I asked you what you did for a living, and you swore, God's my witness to me, that you worked for the railroad people and would never ever follow the sea. You said a lot, Johnny, no, the word was true, Johnny. You betrayed me, Johnny, the moment we met. I hate your guts, Johnny, don't stand there grinning. Take that cigarette out of your mouth, you pig. Surabaya, Johnny, why did you treat me so wrong? Surabaya, Johnny, my God, and I do love you so. Surabaya, Johnny, why am I feeling so low? You have no heart, Johnny, and I do love you so.
We included video because I think we do want it to be a contemporary, cross-discipline, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary affair, and there's a lot of impact in those videos. and they're of Brecht poetry, and they're really not what you expect.
Yes, we definitively didn't want this just to be an exercise in historical reconstruction. Styles of music have moved on, all sorts of things have moved on. If we ask people to compose nowadays, we're not expecting them to compose in the style of Kurt Weill or Hans Eisler, but maybe in the spirit, which is something very different. When, years ago, studying the workings of the Chicago wheat market, I suddenly understood how they managed the world's cereal there, and at the same time did not understand it and laid the book down. I knew immediately, you've got yourself into an evil business. I felt no embitterment, and it wasn't the injustice that shocked me, but the thought, what they're doing there is intolerable, filled me entirely. These people, I realized, lived by the damage they did to others and not by doing good. This was a situation that could only be upheld by crime, since for most it was too pernicious. So, artistically things have moved on, technologically things have moved on. Politically, how have things moved on?
A lot of what we're saying is kind of universal.
At the moment, there is a war in Europe, and the centerpiece of this evening's show is about war in Europe. And it's not just a lament about that, it's a very critical take. It invites you to reflect on how war is represented, what war means for people at all sorts of different levels. So there are huge resonances. It's regrettable that there are resonances, but we actually still live, or we live again, in a world which Brecht would have absolutely recognized. Not only the war, but also the excesses of capitalism, populist politics, all of these sorts of things which he wrote about and against in the 20s, 30s and 40s, we are experiencing again in Europe and in the States. So yes, I absolutely hope that this is a show with lots of resonances which will make people go away and think about where they are now and not just look back nostalgically on some past age.
Thank you.